Hi friends! This week I'm going to be working on my reverse coloring book again. Last time I showed you 7 very different, unique sort of ideas, but this time I just kind of wanted to do whatever inspiration struck. I am going to be showing them to you in order of least to most favorite, so stick around till the end. So this is the first page that I'm going to show you. It has these brush strokes running the length of the page in purple, blue, and gray tones. This page kind of looks like buildings to me, you know, like the skyline of a big city with skyscrapers. We don't really have that where I live. We have like one kind of tall building that you can see behind other less tall buildings. So I decided to go with the cityscape idea. I use Fineliners to draw the details of the buildings, the windows, the little skyscraper hats, and some snazzy stripes here and there. I'm not sure if it's noticeable at all, but I did use a thicker fineliner for the buildings closer to the foreground to make them look closer to the foreground. You can probably tell that I didn't use a ruler for these. I wanted it to look sort of loose and illustrate-y, but it looks a little too loose and illustrate-y, like it was illustrated by a kindergartner. And some of these buildings on the side look like they're sucking their stomachs in. Once I had all of the line work done, this page looks really boring. The colors are too muted and there's so much open space at the top. I tried to add some fog in the sky, but I don't know how to draw fog. So I went with these swirlies with a gray Posca pen. And that still didn't really help liven up the page, so I added these little baby trees to the bottom of the page for a pop of color. And that's how this first page turned out. Overall, not my favorite page I've ever done. It didn't turn out at all how I envisioned it, and it's simultaneously too busy and too boring at the same time. Next is this page. I chose this one because I really wanted to try making another page where I just outline whatever I see without a cohesive plan. I kind of gave up the first time that I tried it, so I really wanted to give it another go. The first thing I saw immediately was this goofy dog shape. I showed the completed page to my best friend, and not only did she break out into hysterical laughter before she even commented, but she also said that this dog had human eyes. After the dog, I saw this blobular shape over here that I think looks like one of those Among Us characters. I've never played Among Us, but I know that they have those big window faces, and I don't think that they have giant decorative pillows for arms. This guy does. After that, I added an owl with some boob wings, a curled up cat with a foot deformity, a bug-eyed bee with no wings, and whatever this guy is.
Are those his eyes or his butt cheeks?
For this whole thing, I used a Posca in the same color as the blue that looked like the outlines. And after drawing out all of the little beings, I didn't really know what else to do. So I did what I always do and thickened the border around each one of them to make them stand out more. And then I'm stuck again. I mean, it's cute and it's obviously funny, but I feel like I could do more with it. I debated leaving this one out because it feels so unfinished, but I'm interested in seeing what you think. Next is this page with a bunch of different colored dots all over it. I thought this would be a fun one to do since there's no shapes to sort of follow, and I could really just go wild with an idea. And by wild, I mean fruit.
It's getting crazy in here.
But actually, I saw this yellow area over here and it kind of looked like a lemon to me. So I thought, I'll just turn each color area into a fruit. Fun fact, there's not as many blue and green fruits as you would think.
That's neither fun nor a fact.
We've got a lemon, a strawberry, grapes, cherries, blueberries, a pear, a kiwi, and a watermelon. After the lining was done, I felt like the colors just weren't punchy enough, so I tried adding more dots. In my head, I saw them as the same size as the circles that were already on the page, so I don't know why I did this. I did try to add a little shading with different colored dots, but yeah. I genuinely don't know if I like this page or not. I don't even know what to say about it. It's fruit, sort of. I included these previous 3 pages because I wanted to show that you don't always love everything you create. Sometimes it just doesn't turn out how you saw it in your head. But next, we're going to get into the pages that I actually love. So I chose this next page because this book has a lot of flowery bouquet pages, and I really wanted to do another one. I saw this big reddish blob over here that reminded me of a butterfly. So I thought it would look cool if there were a few butterflies inside the bouquet, like some little friends making your day special. Someone please send me a bouquet with little butterfly friends in it. Thank you. I used a brush pen for the butterflies to make them more flowy and to stand out against the flowers, which I just used a regular fineliner for. When I was looking at the page as a whole, it's easy to see a beautiful bouquet of flowers. But peering closer at it, seeing individual parts enough to detail them is a lot harder. I had to kind of ignore the actual shapes of the blobs and a bit of reality, and just add in clumps of flowers in spots vaguely matching where the blobs were. I tried to add enough details that the page looked full and even, but I didn't line every single part, because I would lose my mind. I like the page like this, but this next bit just really put it over the top for me. I wanted to try out this new Spectrum Noir sparkle brush pen that I got, and I don't know exactly what's in it, but it must be made by magical fairies. Let me just use a spare bit of background and a phone light to show you. So I added this magical fairy dust to the butterfly's wings. And that's this page done. It's so pretty, not you. But the rest of it is so pretty. The second to last page I'm going to show you is this page, which is obviously some trees. I chose all of the pages I wanted to do before I ever started on any of them, and I initially chose this page because I wanted to leave the actual colors alone and add cute little animals popping out in different spots. That sounds like something I would do. But somewhere in working on the other pages, I ended up not wanting to do that anymore. I don't know why, it just happens sometimes. So instead, I was going to do some details lining the tops of the clumpies of branches. So this is me penciling in where I wanted those details. But then I had an epiphany. What if it's rainbow? And you can't turn your back on a realization like that. So I used neon gel pens to go over those sketch lines that I put in earlier. I'm using this ruler to keep my color section straight all the way down. As I was doing this, I kept looking up in my monitor and thinking that the neon just wasn't bold enough. So I kept thickening the pen lines. But that still wasn't enough for me, so I started scribbling a little bit of shading with the pen and using my finger to smush it around and blend it out. I used a fineliner to reinforce those branches and tree trunks and to detail the bushes on the bottom. I didn't want to do too much because I wanted the focus to stay on the rainbowness, as it always should. But I decided that the rainbow wasn't rainbowy enough, so I dug out some neon-colored pencils to shade even more. But this paper doesn't actually seem to like these pencils very much. Did I use colored pencils before? And that's this page done. I am super psyched about it. It was such a poop color before, and it looks awesome now. Now that rainbow tree was really close, but my favorite page is this last one. In my first reverse coloring book video, I did a sunflower page, and I ended up really liking it, so I decided to do another one. And it's just a random fluke that I ended up with the idea that made this my favorite. See, when I'm not quite sure of an idea, I'll take a picture and just quickly use my phone editing app to draw out a rough idea of what something would look like. For this page, I just wanted to quickly draw some outlines before I committed to them, because there are a couple of places where the petals overlap. In my editing app, the automatic color choice was this bright red, but when I got done, it looked really neon against the yellow flowers, and it looked so cool. So I decided to lean into it and go with bright neon-y colors for the whole thing. I used a fluorescent red paint marker to outline the petals, and it's so amazing that my camera thought you wouldn't be able to handle its gloriousness. My color correcting skills are probably not going to be good enough to fix it. But for some reason my phone had no trouble with it, so I'll show you what it really looks like at the end. After I finished the outline, I added some made-up stems so the flowers weren't just floating in outer space. For the background, I decided to go with dots again. Or actually, for the first time, because this was the first page that I filmed. I knew I wanted the background to be just as bright as the rest of the page, but I didn't want to spend my life coloring it all in. And that sort of would defeat the purpose of the colors that are already there. So I used 4 different blue markers and I tried to match the shade variations in the background. Like for the lightest areas, I used the lightest blue, and the darkest areas, I used the darkest marker, and in between, well, you get it. Finally, to make sure those stems really stood out, I went back and added a darker green outline. And that's it. Here's a video I took with my phone that shows just how cool the colors really look. So what do you think of the pages I did this time? One of the things I'm really starting to love about this book is that it gives me a starting point for an art piece. I'll often have this urge to paint or draw and create, but I have no idea where to start. This book gives me a jumping off point of an idea. I never would have come up with neon sunflowers on my own. But that's all for this week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.